with its
Recording in progress.
193 countries involved. But there may be a few of you who don't know about the SDGs. The SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, were determined in 2015, again, by all of the countries of the United Nations, representatives from education, from business world, from nonprofits, civil society, got together to determine the SDGs. And in 2015, 17 of them were identified. Those were the set of goals that followed the millennial goals, which were determined in 2000, and with goals that they wanted to reach by 2015. So the global goals, or SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, were established 2015, and we hope to reach them in 2030. With that, I will reintroduce Lisa Berg, who is our VP Programs, who will then moderate this program. So thank you to Lisa as well.
Forgot to take off my mask before. Hopefully you could hear me. Our first speaker today is Shraddha Shrestha from Nepal. Shraddha is a traveler, a blogger, and a professional tourism brand expert. With almost 2 decades of her active engagement in tourism, marketing, and promotion of Nepal, she has established herself as one of the tourism marketing professionals of the country. Ms. Shrestha leads the branding unit and is the focal person of international corporate partnership at the Nepal Tourism Board. At MSU, Ms. Shrestha is focused on economic development, concentrating on sustainable tourism management and community development. Welcome, Shrestha.
A very good afternoon, everybody. A warm namaste. First of all, thank you, Brett, for the lovely introduction. I'm Shraddha from Nepal, and I'm here to share some of the great activities and achievement that United Nations has been doing in our country. So I'd like to start with a little bit information about my country, because most of the people might not know much about Nepal here and in the Zoom session. So if you see the world map, you see a tiny red line in far end there. That is my beautiful country, Nepal. It's a Himalayan country, and we are landlocked between 2 great economies and 2 great countries, China and India. A brief description: we have a population around 30 million, and the area of our country is almost like 93,000 miles, and the poverty rate is 18.7%, while our literacy rate is a little bit higher. It's around 70% by the end of 2020. Since I work in the tourism board, my main job is to promote the destination Nepal, and this is my favorite slide. So when I'm promoting Nepal, I say like our country is a country of living museum, because in that small area we have 123 ethnic groups speaking 125 languages. That makes Nepal so rich, culturally diversified. And also, since we have the Mount Everest and other Himalayan 8,000 peaks, and also we are the country where Gautam Buddha, the Lord Buddha, was born, it is a stage for world adventurers and world records holders and extreme adventure activities. Talking about UNDP, So UNDP in Nepal, United Nations was established in Nepal in 1963, and since establishment, it has been working with the government of Nepal to implement various development projects around across the country. And right now, we have around 350 active. I'm sorry, I'll just take this mask off. We have 350 active projects going on under the various associations that comes under the UNDP wing. United Nations Development Program in Nepal is working in 4 major areas, which is again to achieve the sustainable development goals. The first being the democratic governance, the good governance. Second is inclusive economic growth. Third is gender equality and social inclusion. And fourth is the energy, environment, climate, and disaster risk management. So under the good governance, we have several projects which is focused in the local community and community development. And not only the projects are focusing on the local people, but they are also working with the parliamentarian to come up with a process referring to quality of participation in political, social, and economic decision making. They are also making mechanism in setting up transparent democratic institutions in Nepal, and the outcome to create peaceful, stable, and resilient societies, the results of which it has impacted millions of people in Nepal through good governance. And the major achievement is in the number of voters that has been registered by 2020. We have around 14 million voters by 2020, which was 9 million before, and most of them being the females. The second is inclusive economic growth. And here also the project are focusing on the lower level people, creating jobs for micro enterprises development, community infrastructure, and strengthening the skills. So these projects are all about employment creation, providing access to the poor people to energy and resources. And also, they are helping the local government to form policy support in poor development planning and monitoring. So the results of which is the project has been successful in creating a great number of jobs and livelihood opportunities. And the people are not only getting employment, but they are through the funds and the UNDP is providing. They are becoming micro entrepreneurs, and they themselves are creating jobs for other people. So at the end, we'll see about 150,000 people have become micro entrepreneurs in the rural level, and they are indeed creating jobs for other people. So around 300,000 individual people are beneficiaries of this project. The third is the energy, environment, climate, and disaster risk management. Here, the UNDP projects are not only, focusing on the human factor, but also is working on the conservation, the wildlife conservation, and the natural resources conservation. So Nepal is a very prone earthquake. You might have heard about the earthquake in Nepal in 2015, and then it's very prone to earthquake and landslides and floods. So natural disaster is always in the hit list in Nepal. So UNDP programs are creating comprehensive preparedness program and developing human resource to tackle risk management whenever we have such situations. They are also working on poor health and environment management systems, and also climate change adaptation. So I would like to just touch base on the health management system, since we are going through the pandemic, and I want to share how UNDP helped Nepal to contain the disease. So at the beginning of the pandemic, UNDP and its correlation associations helped the Nepal government in fighting the pandemic, both technically and in the awareness factor. So it helped the government of Nepal, the hospitals, by providing ventilators, PCR kits, vaccines, and also it helped in setting up quarantine camps and provided safety materials materials for the frontline workers. While in the awareness, it created social messages like, to wash your hands, put on your masks, maintain social distances, things like this, in the local languages, so that the people could understand and get the message. And Nepal, we are a developing country, and the health facilities are not good, and especially in the rural areas. So these messages really help them to fight, to know about the disease and fight against it. And Nepal is I'm very proud to say that Nepal is one of the countries with the limited health facilities. We are the lowest number of country who had the lowest mortality rate due to pandemic. So this is one of the achievement of the program. So, and last but not the least, the UNDP is also focusing on gender equality and social inclusion. Well, this topic is not only big for Nepal, but I think it's gender equality is like big and important for everywhere in the world. So the projects the UNDP is doing is focusing on the rural women, the empowering the women, giving them skill development and accessing them with funds. And not only that, UN is also working with the local leaders and the parliamentarians, the women parliamentarians. And one of the major achievement is like they have come up with 10 laws. They have formed and reviewed 10 laws which are very pro-women oriented and which advocates the rights of women opportunities in the marginalized area, women rights for against child marriages, women's rights for getting citizenship on the name of the mother, women's rights for education, and etc., etc. So this is one of the major achievement like UNDP is had through its project. So this is the Nepal map, and this is where the UNDP is working. So we have 7 provinces, and the UN's work is mainly focused on the 2, 6, and the 7 provinces of Nepal, because these provinces have, a very high poverty rate and low literacy rates. So the development works are mainly concentrated in these areas. Well, since establishment, UN has helped Nepal in developing a lot and has created a long development path. I mean, it's so short to comprehend all the activities of UN in Nepal, but those programs have definitely brought smiles and joy to the Nepalese people. And on behalf of these joy faces and all of us Nepalese, I would like to thank the United Nations, the United Nations Association, and all of you who are associated with UN for your great humanitarian work. You've been doing a great job. And yes, definitely you're making this world a better place to live. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Or anybody online? Say that if anyone online wants a question, they can.
I'm open.
Yeah.
We're open for questions now. If anybody has any questions.
Put them in the chat if that's-
Yeah.
What are your plans at the end of this fellowship?
Can you repeat the question too? What are your plans for the end of your fellowship?
So my
There you go.
my plans, my fellowship is it's completing in June, so I have a job back. And before I came here, I just started a project with UNDP, actually, like my office. And since the pandemic, many lower level people like the trekking porters and the guides had lost job because we had no tourists coming here. So with UNDP Nepal and Nepal Tourism Board, we started one project called Short-Term Employment Creation, SLTRP. So I'll be probably joining back in the team. And yes, I've yet to see what I could do. I've been trying to pitch a couple of projects with MSU. So if I'm able to do it, then I'd like to continue doing that from back home. That's my plan still now.
If you have a question from the Zoom. Which maybe you can read it.
So the question is, how is your country doing on vaccination? Do you have enough vaccines for who wants them? Unfortunately, I would say no, we don't have enough vaccines. Yes, I mean, but the country, almost, I would say around 43 to 45% of people has been vaccinated. But yes, we have been very much fortunate that like organizations like UN or countries like India, America, and Britain has been helping us in providing the vaccines. But yes, most of the people, like the older age people and the frontline workers and the security personnel, hospital people, have been vaccinated. But it's going on. So I'm here for a year now, but I'm hearing that like my parents have got the boosters. So I guess they are doing quite good in this. Hopefully.
We have one more question from the room or online. What, Ron?
This may not be a fair question, just maybe slightly out of your area, but I know a big problem and a growing problem in Nepal has been particularly in the tourist area in the mountains, particularly the trekking crowd, which are not always clean and neat and nice. They leave a mess. And added to that, the environmental changes going on, the melting of ice and snow. Is that improving at all? Is there any way that your government is trying to approach that, or the community is trying to help with that?
Well, I mean, the UN is particularly working for the melting of the glacier lakes, but not directly for the clean management. But we have other donor agencies from the Swiss Development Corporation, which is helping us manage the wastage in the Mount Everest area, which was very. There was a very bad media coverage about the wastage in the Mount Everest region. So during this pandemic, when there was like no mountaineering activities, the Nepal Tourism Board with the ministry and the army, they set up this small short-term program where the army was utilized to do the cleaning. And now I think they have come up with projects saying if you bring like some, you get some money if you bring back some vestiges. So they are collecting the vestiges in the base camp. So hopefully this will do something for the cleaning management. Yeah, I just know this much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shraddha, very much. Our next speaker is Torek Tabet, who is from Gaza, Palestine. Torek has earned a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering and a Master of Business Administration. He has 12 years of experience working in the nonprofit sector and entrepreneurship. He played a great role in developing the small businesses and entrepreneurship sector in the Gaza Strip, and is currently the manager of University College of Applied Sciences incubator programs. Welcome, Torek.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for this nice opportunity to speak about some achievement about big organization work in country, especially when I talk about place like Gaza. I know it's too limited, so I'm trying to be faster. Just this work. Okay. Yeah, mainly I will mention some main points about what the United Nations work in the Palestine. But before I start with, I mentioned that Gaza, it's located in the southwest in the Palestine, and the Palestine located in the south west in the Asia. Historians, they are estimated that Gaza, it's more than 5,000 years old. So I think it's a long time and a long kind of historical information about that. Also, it's located in the best place around between the Asia and Africa. This is give the Gaza a good place for to be the board for different kind of the trade and different kind of experience. So But before I start talking about the SDGs, we talk about the place located under the occupation. It's more than 73 years. So this is make this kind of huge challenges for the people who work in this field. And this is make this kind of challenge, it's very, very big to achieve small success in different kind of experience. But they are doing great job in different area. I will mainly mention 2 points of the SDGs, mainly the number 1, the non-poverty and the growth economic, because this is, I think, the main point related to the human life improvement in many different ways. But before I start talking about the economic situation, let's take a quick look about the economic situation in Gaza. Okay. Mainly when I'm talking about unemployment rate in Gaza, we arrived to the point now, it's more 50% of the people in the unemployment rate. So when you are looking for 2 bears on the street, one of them, they didn't work. This number increased by the time after 2000. If we just take a quick look about this graph, the highlight about the Gaza, how they are increasing around the years from the 2000 and 2007 after the siege of Gaza till to the last year, we arrived to the 50%. So I think it's this huge number of people, they are bottom in the unemployment rate, and the effect of that for the people life, for the economic, for the local situation, make a bottom in the dangerous situation. Also, more than the 53 of the people, they are under the line of poverty. So let's imagine how this is a problem that will be huge in some situation. In some way, we are summarized all this kind of, it's the result of the political conflict, political situation in the Palestine. Also, the women, they are still having the same problem from the suffering from the other kind of people. We have more than 50% of the women in the Gaza, they didn't work, and they didn't get the real opportunity to work because we don't have opportunity for that. Also, the disabled people have the same problem. But here, when we talk about the place under conflict, the disabled people, they are increased year by year by huge number. Each time we have some kind of war, some kind of conflicts, that's affect hugely. That's increased the number of the disabled people in the huge number. So when I talk about the place like this, I think this is the bigger problem we need to mention before we just moving. In Gaza, there are more than 23 units and entities of the United Nations work in the Gaza. But through my speech, I will mainly mention one of them, only one of them. It's the UNRWA, it's the United Nations for the Relief and Work Agency, one of the biggest United Nations units that work in the Palestine. It's mainly for the Palestinian people, and they are doing great jobs from all the years till the now. They achieve that. Through my speech, I will mention only 3 programs. They are working that related to the economic situation. The first one, it's the microfinance program. If we just recognize this kind of a problem in the economic situation and we want to make small solution for that, one of these kind of program, it's the microfinance program, where are just giving the people small loans that's help him to start a new job, start a new kind of work. This kind of work that's helped many of the people, especially in the women in many different areas, to start their life. 2018, they have more than 38,000 loan. It's more than 35 million in the all area work of the not only Gaza. I think Gaza will take 20% of that. The effect of this kind of work, it's not only for the one person. This is what the point. When we work with this kind of work, they start with the one person who have the family. Also, they are trying to employ another person. So we are talking about other families. So I think it will be increase the value for all the people they have this kind of experience. In 2018, this program, they are win in the Microfinance Award. They take the A+ rating, and they are recognized. It's one of the 5% top program working in the microfinance programs in the world. The second program I want to mention, it's TVET program. It's more related to the vocational training program. Something I need to mention here, when you talk about the Gazians people, all the people, they have a great education in some way, because we are believing in there is no way to live a good life to have a good education. So when we talk about the education, there is a lot of the degrees, especially who have the bachelor, master, and PhD degree. But the real life, we don't need this kind of people. We need the people who have the skills in some way. So the UNORWA start, the huge program, it's related to more for the vocational training. It's similar like what we have seen here, like the community college in some way. The UNORWA, they are managing eight college for that. 2 of them work in the Gaza. They graduate around 7,000 each year with people who are prepared very well to work in the local market, and they are prepared to access to the local market with the skills that help him to start their life in some way. Also, the people who graduate from this place, they have a good skill, so it's easy for them to access to the local market. The third program, it's the Cash for Work program. And this kind of program, has more special in some way. When we talk about the people, they arrive to the poverty line, it's usually they are start selling their assets. They are start affect about their many kind of life. They cut off their health care, they cut off their many issues to just save the minimum life. This will make the poverty issue, it's more increased, and it's make the problem, it's more dangerous. So this kind of program, they are trying to help people to find some occasionally or some seasonal kind of work in some way to help him to start or moving their life and arrive to the point they can just moving without losing the opportunity and increase the poverty in many situations. And the women and the young people, they have good benefit from this kind of program. When I'm just mentioning this kind, it's a sample of the economic programs they are working as. I know the time it's too limited just to mention that, but I think the last report that published by the Palestinian Authority government, they are trying to improve this kind of work to achieve the SDGs through the 2030. And they are work very hard to develop all this kind of operations and the achievement, working with different kind of partners, trying to work hard in this issue of more focus on different opportunities to achieve this kind of point. I will mention one kind of experience that what we have in my work. We have work in the hackathon. It's related to collect different kind of people, with the creative people, with people who have different idea to create more innovation solution for different organization work in the Palestine through the people who have the ability to do that. I will mention a quick video, just less than 1 minute, that will describe and discuss. Okay. It's this kind of activity to motivate the young people to create a new idea, a new solution for that's help and more awareness in the SDGs goal. And thank you.
Do you have any questions for Tarek? Or on? Oh, we have a question here. Oh, okay, we'll start with Yasmina.
So, when individuals that were being trained? You said like 7,500 are being trained every year to those vocational skills. Where are they being employed? Are the jobs in Gaza, or are they in Israel, or?
Yeah, it's mainly work in the local market. But when you talk about the vocational training, I think they have the skills that the market need. So it's always this kind of graduate people. And I think there is a lot of competition to access to this kind of college. So the people who have this kind of skills, they have the ability to move forward directly to the local market and get a good opportunity to start their own job. Yeah.
I have a question. We have a question here. We can read it.
Yes. Okay. We have heard that people of Gaza are separately short of potable water. Are Israeli continue their attack on the filtration of the desalination facilities or progress being made? Maybe I don't specialize in the water issues in some way, but I think still we have this kind of a problem. And through the last few years after the wars that's happened in Gaza, there is a lot of the water that able people to drink and to use it will be decreased the more than they have the usual one with the people they have. But in some cases, there's many projects that done by different donors. One of them, like the UNDP, a different kind of organization, they are trying to increase this kind of the good water that to use in some way. And I think the problem is still they have the same problem, but I think it's the solution. They are still working on that. So I think that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Oh, one more. Sophia?
So you may need to repeat the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to give us an example of the microfinancing project? How the choice is happening? Is there a committee? How this committee is created? And what kind of projects applies?
Exactly.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is related to how the microfinance project how they are select their project and what's the kind and or samples of this kind of project. And the short answer, there is always their committee, because always this kind of project, they have a lot of huge of the competition to select that. But we took two type of the project. One of them, they are done by totally donation. So any money or any service you can take it, you didn't need to repay anything. And it's very hard one to get. The second one, it's the loan one. The loan one, it's easy for anyone to get the loan and they start their own job and they after start to create them and they can repay for that. And both of them take a long time for process of selection by specialty people. They are trying to figure out how the projects will be need for the market, how the percentage will be succeed, how the ability for the people, the skills that able to do that, to just main thing that's trying to focus, they are put the money in the correct place in some way. Also, all this kind of program, they have different kind of the mentorship, consultation to improve and increase the percentage of succeed of this kind of project. Mainly, the people who are usually starting their project by their own money, let's say, they are succeed less than 50% of the people who have this kind of program, because they are take a fully support to work in that. All this kind of projects, they are working in the small business. Some of them, they are working in the agriculture field and in this area. And another ones maybe like the handicraft and this kind of the small manufacture issues. They are working the local market and they achieve good success in some way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Yoon-hee Kim from the Republic of Korea. Yoon-hee is a Deputy Director in the Human Resource Division at the Korean Ministry of Personnel Management, in charge of personnel systems for public officials. She served as an instructional designer of training programs for public officials. She holds master's and doctoral degrees in educational technology from Yonsei University, Korea. Her interest areas are human resource strategy, informal learning, and learning technology. During her Humphrey year, she is investigating the application of artificial intelligence to public organizations. Welcome, Yoon-hee.
No. But okay, how can I see the one more time? Okay. Okay. Nice to meet you all. I'm also one of the Humphrey Fellows and come from South Korea. And I spent about 6 months in East Lansing, and it was so meaningful time for me. And today I'd like to share about SDGs in Korea, especially gender equality in a view of human resource management and development. And first, let me introduce briefly about Republic of Korea. It is also commonly called South Korea, but official name is Republic of Korea. As you can see on the map, the location is in East Asia and between China and Japan. And at the right side, the national flag, a circle in the center is called Taeguk in Korean, which symbolize the cycle of nature and 4 patterns around mean: sky, earth, water, and fire. And the national flower of the Korea is called 무궁화, which is often used as an image of government symbols. And now there's lots of stuff, but now I'll explain the SDG of Korea. I'm sure the audience knows the details of SDG better than I do. But many countries are aware of importance of SDG and are making various efforts for sustainable development. In order to promote the SDGs in Korea, the system has been established and detailed goals have been set in 2018. And detailed and specific goals were set, and which we call KSDG, Korean Sustainable Development Goals. And my professional field is human resource management and development, and I've been interested in women's career for a long time. And in relation to gender equality, it is goal 5 of SDG. And Korea set 10 specific goals related to private, public, and academic sector within KSDGs, as you see in the slide. So the KSDG has the same basic goals as the SDGs, but it was set in consideration of social, economic, and cultural environment of Korea. So, I will focus 5-3 and 4. It is related to gender equality. Oh, it was spoiler. So yeah, look at the detailed goals and the indicators in more detail. It consists of 7 items. So here is 7 items, and these are related to goal 5, promote gender equality. So among the detailed goals related to gender equality, goal 5, the part related to child marriage, which did not occur in Korea in 2000s, and the female circumcision, which does not exist customs in Korea, was excluded from the original target of SDGs. So I will explain in more detail about the part related to women's careers, 5-3 and 4. And the specific goal I'd like to explain is to give value to household work and to ensure equal opportunities for both gender in the fields of leadership in politics, economy, and the public sector. Both of the goals I mentioned earlier are closely related to women's career development. I believe that too much household work for women and the gender inequality in high positions are big barriers to women's career development. And I showed a little bit of spoiler before. And can you guess what's one of the biggest problems of Korean society? Maybe you've already seen it. That's a low birth rate. So you can check the birth rate in Korea after 1995 and by the age group in the graph. I think it is caused by that housework is mainly given to women and it is difficult to come back to job, similar to the previous one before their career interruption by childbirth and care. So as you can see, the birth rate is really going fastly down at the early 30s. So that is a really big problem. And this situation is closely related to the 5-3, respect and value housework, and 5-4, women's participation in social activities and equal opportunities. So so it is a really big problem. So there is okay. So we made these goals, and I will talk about 3 parts of gender equality: private sector, public sector, and academic fields. So I will go to first private sector. So private sector in 2021, as you can see the PowerPoint, 16 Korean companies are participating in the Target Gender Equality Program to promote their gender equality in organization together with UN Global Compact. They engage in various activities such as mentoring to raise female managers within the organization. In addition, Korea's UN Global Compact has established a separate website to provide various diagnostic to make gender equal workplace. So you can check here. So, and the next one is about public sector, where I work in. So the public sector, nowadays, the public sector's recruitment is mainly done through large open recruitment examination in Korea. So the female acceptance rate often exceeds half. But the problem is that there is still a small proportion of women in senior positions. The Ministry of Personnel Management, which in charge of HR administration for civil servants, has set up the dedicated organization for the balanced personnel to manage proportion of the women in senior and manager positions. Here is the department, which is for balanced personnel policy. And here is the goals of senior civil service officials and director level officials. Maybe this is similar to team leader in private company. It is managers of manager. So we get some good outcome and sometimes exceeds the goals, but it is still lower than OECD average. So we are at the SCS officials, we are 8.5 in 2020, but OECD average is 37. So we have still lots of things to do. And last one is about academic field. This is the result of case study conducted my research group, or not for my job. I have research group with my colleagues. And I think the biggest problem is the academic field compared to private and public sectors. As a result of interviewing about 50 Korean women with doctoral degrees, there are many cases of career interruption due to childbirth and child caring. and the gap could not be overcome. In many cases, it was solved through family support or individual effort. So it is their the interviewee statements, and most of them solve their problem, but by their family or their personal effort. So in many cases, it is solved like this way, and rather than social policies. So as mentioned earlier, the reason gender inequality occurs in the workplace is that women can't catch up for their careers after their career interruption due to housework, and childcare is concentrated on women in Korea. So today I talked about K SDGs related to gender equality, one of the main goals of the SDG. As women's social achievement increase, their career interruption due to housework and childcare has a great tendency to make it difficult to return to work, especially in high quality professional job with competition. The future of the country depends on human resource. I think delicate policies on utilization of women's talent is necessary at the national level. And this is a novel gained big popularity in Korea a few years ago. The novel was also made into a movie. The novel's name is Kim Ji-young, born 1982. Ji-young is the most common female name in Korea. And the name of the Korean character recently added to Sesame Street is also Ji-young. This novel deals with the struggles of a woman born in 1982 in growing up, getting married, gaining job, and giving birth, and the difficulties that women in Korean society face at home and in their careers. It is written very realistic. So if you have time, you can check. I don't know if the book is in this library or not, but you can find it in the library or bookstore. So yeah. It became a big issue and translated in English and published in UK and USA. This shows that there are still many challenges to be solved in relation to gender equality. However, I believe that recognizing this problem of these issues increase the possibility of development. Thank you for listening.
Questions for you, Pete? Okay.
You didn't have a chance to add.
Yeah, so I have that. Okay. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Our next speaker is Anna Podlesna from Slovakia. Anna is a corporate social responsibility manager at Profisia, an IT company developing products and services for HR and recruitment in Slovakia. She's leading a program for people with special needs in the labor markets and represents her employer at the Business Leaders Forum and Diversity Charter in Slovakia. Anna developed the Academy for School Principals, which brings expertise in talent management and HR into schools. Anna's company, Profisia, develops solutions focusing on 3 SDGs: quality education, decent work and economic growth, and partnerships for the goals. Welcome, Anna.
This will be challenging to hold all these items, but I will try. Okay, good afternoon, dobrý deň. I would call you dobrý deň if I'm in Slovakia. And I was very thrilled when I read the description for this event because it says bird's eye view, and it focuses on details. And we are a very small country, and therefore I wanted to give you a little bit of more details as you maybe can read in official reports. And Slovakia is somewhere here. Some of you may travel to former Czechoslovakia, or maybe you know Prague, which is sort of more famous. Slovakia is a very small country. We are located in Central Europe. We call them brothers. On left side are from the Czech Republic. On south, we have Austria and Hungary. Above us is Poland, and on the right side is Ukraine. And current situation in Ukraine is actually really challenging our political environment. If you read the latest reports and you look from the global perspective, actually, we are not doing so bad from the perspective of SDGs if you look from the global perspective. And we are on the 19th rank of 165 monitored countries. And if you look at all 17 SDGs, we are somewhere 79.6 on the index score. This is the picture from our latest report, which actually says which goals are actually met. However, there is a chapter in this report which says not all political leaderships, there are huge discrepancies among political leaderships and actually how the policy environment is set. And not all SDGs are actually transferred to policy frameworks. And this is a very important message when we look at the work. And as it was mentioned, I'm working for a private company. So why I'm staying actually here if I'm not from the government and I'm not representing any government solutions? If you look here, there is Business Leaders Forum mark. And it's just to show you this iceberg's view, what's happening actually in Slovakia. It's related to very recent history. In 1989, we had Velvet Revolution, which set Slovakia on the path to democracy. February 21st, 2018 was a very important milestone in our history. We had a murder of investigative journalist and his fiancée, who was actually revealing corruption cases connected to political top governance people. This was created in 2012, mostly companies from US operating and doing businesses in Slovakia. They decided to form a business leaders forum under independent leadership of non-government organization called Pontis Foundation and try to bring solutions which would help to continue on democratic principles in our country. We are a very small company, but we somehow later connected to this business leaders forum, and I will be talking about the work which actually helps our country. These two awards are very special to us because they were given by independent organization for the work I will be talking about. One of them is from this leading NGO, which established this business leaders forum. It was for a small company and it was for the project and work for people with special needs. And this is the National Career Award from European Commission. Our company, because we are operating on the labor market, when in 2012, these businesses created Business Leaders Forum, in 2015, they brought this idea of SDGs. They explain why it is important that all together we form partnerships and we follow the same path and look for similar solutions. So when we look at the three SDGs, quality education, decent work and economic growth and partnership for the growth, we look at schools and it says inclusive and equitable education for all. However, we realize that if you want to work in our schools, hiring for schools was not transparent. It was in 2012. So what we did as a company, we created a job board for schools where they can publish their job openings for free, which means that we were actually fighting against corruption when it came to hiring for schools. Last year, we had 6,000 schools using our job board. So we sort of helped to unreveal untransparent processes for school management. Additionally, when we were looking at the data, because many times private businesses have a lot of data which we gather, we found out that if you as a school publish a job position that you are looking for a principal of the school, in average, there was only one response to this job opening. And that was strange. So we were digging deeper and deeper, and we found out that actually people are afraid to do school principals. What you see here is our third year of Academy for School Principals. We partner with other companies and use the best trainers we use in companies. And we brought modern HR management practices to schools. We raised so far 60 school principals in Slovakia who are running modern management. How it relates to SDGs? You can see, for example, this lady. Her name is Alena. She's from Eastern Slovakia. There are huge discrepancies among regions. Alena is from a small village, but her school has 800 Roma children. Children who don't have running water, don't have flushing toilets, who were not educated properly. Alena was enough brave to come to our academy. Now she is doing huge impact in this little village, leading and helping, bringing innovative solutions to teachers who are actually providing inclusive and equitable education to children. That's how SDGs can be doing impact. And this is my heart and the reason why I am here, because it's not easy to leave the country and stay 10 months with a small child. In 2012, again, the same year, if you ask people in Slovakia where people with special needs could work, they will tell you in sheltered shops, or they have disability pension, why do they need work? If they work in sheltered shops, many times it wasn't transparent, they were fictive. So in 2012, we developed a job board for sheltered shops, which showed who is doing what. Our ministry is still using this job board because that's the only transparent tool actually right now. We verified the organizations. However, March 2020, Independent Analytical Institute of our ministry published a report, Group at Risks of Poverty and Social Exclusion. And it says, if you ask labor officers working who should be counseling people, job seekers with special needs, where they could work, 40% of them would still tell you at sheltered shops or they shouldn't work. So we actually started a program which is focusing on employment of people on open labor market. These are two manuals we released in 2021 after pandemic for employers and job seekers. But the reason I am here is that management of autism was approved in our country 6 months ago, July 2021. It's almost 30 years behind the world in many developed countries. What we are now trying, and it's the reason why I am in the States, we are transferring some expertise to Slovakia. So companies in Slovakia can employ neurodiverse people in regular employment settings. So this is how you actually can, if I return back to these 3 SDGs, with other companies and under many organizations like this, independently formed, but with the US headquartered people here, we are actually trying to bring innovative solutions to our country. And why it's important to encourage companies who are actually operating in other countries is then when there is the environment which is challenging democracy, many times businesses can have a strong impact. Thank you very much.
Yes, Sophia.
Can you talk us more about your educational system? I was surprised that the details or the principle, you talked about corruption. Is it public funded and how the people are trained and so on?
It's public, it's financed by our company. Academy is financed by our company. This is what I'm talking about. Many times businesses put their own money to develop these solutions. So Academy for School Principals is actually financed by our company.
No, I'm asking you about the public, if there is a public educational system in general.
Yes,
not
there
just
is.
by the state.
There is public school system, of course. One have a problem with inclusive and equitable education is that you have huge disparities in Slovakia among regions. The capital city, many times there are like society is more middle class, upper class. In the region, there are more people unemployed and they don't have access to high quality education. And we have a large number, like 13% of population are Roma people, which are actually, because of the history, they don't have access to education. The reason why don't have is because the 6 years after they are born, they are not integrated. They don't know the Slovak language. They don't, many times when they come to school, first time they hold pencil, they hold a book. And because of this, they are not ready to follow the curriculum given by the state. And they are falling down, and then they are excluded. They are not able to find a job, and not like then that it connects to poverty, etc. So what we have actually, it's actually the NGO established by my sister. They started to work in the region. So they work with children from 0 to 3 years old. They develop the system with communities, how to get them educated so they can cope with the kindergarten level and then go to the schools. And if we bring the solution for employment, we will actually help with the transition from schools to employment setting. But it's a whole process you need to address. But if you ask in Slovakia in general, why all this EU money are flowing into Roma projects, there was a lot of corruption. Many of those money were not properly used. That was the case.
What percentage of the population is Roma?
I just said, we just had recent counting of the people, and it depends whether they really officially claim they are Roma population, but it's somewhere between 9 to 13% of Roma population. And mostly they are living in regions, those who are really successful and cope with the educational obstacles sort of, then they mostly live in around capital city.
Any other questions for Anna? One more. Ms. Mina?
The fact that there was only one applicant for principal jobs and how that ties to corruption, if you could explain that.
This wasn't tied to corruption. It's fear to be a school principal. Because when you are you are being prepared to be a teacher in Slovakia, you have pedagogical education. School management requires different thing. After COVID, but not even before COVID, a lot of requirements and strict regulations from the government. People just didn't want to be in that position. But if you don't have high quality school principal who is enabling school staff to do innovative jobs, then you cannot reach the SDG goal, inclusive and equitable education. And also because so many people in our school system were burned out, young generation wasn't coming because they said, oh, we don't have a good school principal, so I just will do some other job. So we noticed that if we don't do anything with this management of schools, then we really will be losing and it's visible in further steps. If we go further to details, when you break down the goal, you will see that from the scientific perspective, Slovakia is not doing good. And I have to admit also that there are many officials working in the ministries, because many times when we do these solutions, we offer them to government, we show data. That's what we will be doing after I return back with impact for employment of neurodiverse people. We measure that. But even Academy of School Principals, now they were observing our trends, and they are now investigating how they could improve the state preparation. So it's basically like, because we are flexible, we bring solution and show it to government, reveal the data, point to the problem, and then they are able to operate. But government is slow. We don't want to fight with them. We just want to offer what works.
Final speaker, Fadia Albar, is from Yemen. Fadia is the chair of the Yemen chapter of Arab Women in Computing, where she leads a team to plan, develop, and fundraise chapter programs and activities. Fadia has extensive expertise managing projects and initiatives aimed at alleviating poverty and facilitating economic growth for the most vulnerable members of community, women, youth, and children. She's involved in a number of community service projects that help those in need, and recently launched a pilot project in Yemen to help underprivileged and waste picker children and families who are in desperate need of assistance due to the ongoing conflict. Welcome, Fadia.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Glona for arranging this event, and thank you for your coming today. My name is Fadia, and I came from Yemen. Yemen was called in the past as Arabian Felix. Felix means is a Latin word, and it means the happiest place in the Arabian Peninsula. A little facts about my home country, Yemen. It is located in the southern west in the Arabian Peninsula between Saudi Arabia and Oman, Gulf of Aden, and Red Sea. The capital city of Yemen is Sana'a, where I came from, and the population around 30 million by 2019. The official language is Arabic with widespread to English language, and the economic indicator says that 54% live under $2 per day by 2015. The governmental type is constitutional republic. Yemen has 5 famous cities. One of them is Sana'a, which is the capital city, and it is continuously inhabited more than 2,500 years. And it is considered like UNESCO World Heritage Site. Aden is the portal city of Yemen, and it was the capital city of South Yemen, and it was occupied by the British until 1967. Shibam is a walled city built in 1513s, and it is also considered like UNESCO World Heritage Site. If we want to talk about United Nations and Yemen, North Yemen was admitted to the United Nations by 30 September 1947. South Yemen was admitted to the United Nations in 14 December 1967. In the Unity Day in 2020 of May 1919, Yemen became as one member state with the name of Yemen. United Nations is doing great work in Yemen. United Nations led talks resulted in a ceasefire agreement in Hodeidah port in December 2018, which creates hope for Yemenis people to end war and alleviate the humanitarian crisis. and United Nations collaborated with 254 humanitarian partners to agree on priorities and coherent strategy to meet the needs of 30 million people in 2018. The United Nations, currently represented in Yemen by 21 residents and non-resident agencies, funds and specialized programs, and with the presence of the Office of Special Envoy of the Secretary General of Yemen, or for Yemen. If we want to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals and its situation in Yemen, as I mentioned in the beginning, Yemen was called like Arabian Felix, which is the Arabian happiest land. However, now we are suffering of war. We are going to turn the 7th year by March 2022. This war affects all the development indicators in Yemen. The highest priority the highest priorities by UNDP reports for Sustainable Development Goals in Yemen is SDG number 1, no poverty, and SDG number 2, zero hunger, and SDG number 10, reduced inequality and decent work and economic growth. The report of Sustainable Development Goals of Yemen says that Yemen will not attain any of the SDGs by 2030. Ending conflict in Yemen is the most urgent priority. And since 2015, Yemen's economic output has decreased by roughly 50%. 80% of the population in Yemen requires humanitarian assistance. Since 2015, hyperinflation increased the cost of food by 150% and fuel by 200%. Conflict has already set Yemen's development back by 21 years. And also the report says that if the conflict comes to an end in 2022, development will have been set back to 26 years in Yemen. As I said, United Nations, represented by its agencies in Yemen, doing work there for humanitarian assistance. One of the projects I'd like to focus on or to talk about, because it is like the recent project implemented in Yemen. Its name is Emergency Human Capital Project. It's implementing with Sustainable Development Goals 3 and 17, which is partnership and well-being and good health. This project supports 2,000 health facilities and their outreach activities and provide essential support to thousands of children and families in different parts of Yemen. The medical center of Tariba, which is located in the south of Yemen, actually, it is a basic center for healthcare, and people there were struggling to arrive to this center because the distance and the transportation cost. For this reason, this project was implemented by UNICEF to provide the center with medicines and vaccines and build the capacity of care teams to deliver essential services to the population. Also, UNICEF intervened to this center by enabling a mobile health teams. These teams was able to offer the service to families in that city to provide them with the basic care services by two field visits each week. These visits makes like outreach activities and conducted through a team named Outside the Walls. This team was reach the people who cannot, as I said, who cannot arrive to that center to access the medical services, whether to their financial circumstances or the conflict going on in Yemen or the work commitment. In general, United Nations is working good in Yemen, and we have a lot of projects there. This, as I said, one of the most important or recent project going in Yemen, and this woman is a housewife woman, live in the south of Yemen, and she was one of the beneficiaries of this project. This is the reference. Thank you. No need for that.
Any questions for Claudia?
Do some of the mobile healthcare facilities provide basic necessities such as food and water as well to the vulnerable populations?
Yes, so this team offer, as I said, the basic care services for people, those who cannot reach to the medical center close to them. And it offers like very, very basic service like pregnant women follow-up or the routine vaccination for children, something like that.
Are the mobile units affected by the conflict?
Okay, of course it is affected, but actually any project that done under the supervision of United Nations can work in some way with a safe way. So like the United Nations makes the requirements to keep them, those mobile teams work safely.
Can you talk us more about hunger in Yemen? Because both Guterres and the UNHCR secretary, they all talk about the hunger in Yemen and how this can provoke new migration movements and refugees to Europe.
Okay, so as I said, Yemen before the war was one of the least development countries over the world. Okay, in the past, Yemen was one of the least developing countries in the world. However, after the war in 2015, in March 2015, the situation get worse. The people lost their salaries or continued salaries. For this reason, then the percentage of hunger or poverty grows up. And of course, the levels of the hunger and the need of the basic life raised by that year. Okay.
Thank you, Fadia. Thank you to all of you who joined us today, and a special thank you to Shraddha, Torek, Yunhee, Anna, and Fadia for sharing their experiences with us today. Your information was insightful and interesting, and we really appreciate your time because we know that Humphrey Fellows are exceedingly busy with all that they have to do. I'm going to introduce Bob Barnhart, who has some parting words for us. He is the current LUNA president.
Does it matter? Gotcha. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you all for being here. I've just been delighted getting to know these Humphrey Fellows, and I think this was really a special treat for all of us to hear from them. It's, I think, something that really enriches our community that Michigan State University hosts these folks, and hopefully that they will go home and not only have learned some things, but be able to share some of the good things about America and what they have learned here. And I know we are learning some of the good things about the countries that they or each of them are from. So thank you so much for your sharing today, and I'll be looking forward to seeing some more of you during your stay here. I'm just pleased. Is this off? I didn't think that was coming through. But... Turn itself off. All right. Yeah, I thought that changed. I thought I heard a change in the sound there. And I also, I don't know if anyone has said, but there was a great group that of members of the United Nations Association here, Greater Lansing, that really worked hard on putting this program together. And I just wanted to thank them as well. So let's give a hand to our speakers and to our people who put this program together. Thank you very much. thank all of those who joined us on Zoom, and we wish you a great afternoon. Thank you.